Hello writers, I wanted to talk to you today about your introduction. Your introduction is, in a lot of ways, one of the most important parts of your essay because it's going to be what captures your reader's attention and draws them in and makes them want to read the essay and care about what's going on in the essay. So while your professor has to read your essay, if you're posting it in the class, not everyone else has to, and you really want something that's going to pull in the reader, but also introduce your topic. So I just want to give a few tips on this today. The first thing I want to say is make sure you use your MLA heading. Depending on what class you're in, if you might be using an APA heading, if you're not writing for English 101 or something like that, definitely ask the teacher or check the rubric, because you can lose a lot of points, maybe up to 10 points often on an essay, just by using the wrong formatting, by using APA instead of MLA or something like that. So, sending a quick email is a great way to do that. Remember to have an engaging title. This is part of your hook in a way. You want a title that no one else in the class could have, even if they wrote on the same topic, something that really represents your paper. So the first thing you want to do is you want to create a strong hook. This is a sentence or two sentences that's going to pull your reader in and make them want to keep reading. Now, if you go online and you Google this, you're going to get a lot of really bad advice. I looked for an article to share with my students. I couldn't really find anything that didn't give advice that when teachers sit around and talk about student essays, that, things that they complain about. So some of the most common advice you're going to see is to use a quote, to start with a quote. It's just a terrible idea. Don't do that. You really don't want to start your essay with a quote. And I think it's Grammarly. A couple of those things will tell you this. If you have it, they'll say use your, own words in your introduction. Because your introduction is introducing the topic, but it's also introducing you as the authority. So generally you're going to be writing in third person, but you still want to establish yourself as the authority. You want your voice, even if it's your third person voice, your voice to be what the reader hears first. So you really want to avoid using someone else's words to do that if you can. You also don't want to start with a definition, and in general, unless you absolutely have to, you don't want to use a definition in your essay. Any reader could just quickly look up any word that they want. Chances are the definition you're giving is probably something they already know or something that the paper is going to teach them about and that they don't really need the definition for. So you really kind of want to avoid those things. You want to just create something that pulls the reader in and makes them think about what's going on. You can use a statistic. That's one of the suggestions, is to use a shocking statistic or something that's really going to grab the reader's attention. And that's okay. You can do that. Or use a really good question that might pull them in, a rhetorical question. If you use a statistic, you have to cite it. All facts, quotes, statistics, definitions, all of that must be cited. Ideally, in your introduction, you kind of want to avoid using in-text citations. You really want that support to be in the body of your essay, not so much in your introduction. But if you feel like a really strong statistic, a fact that, people would be really surprised at and people would go, what? Is that true? I have to keep reading this. Something like that, if you really want to use that, you should use it and cite it. But other than that, unless it's absolutely necessary, save the support for the body of the essay. What your introduction is doing is it's introducing the topic and it's introducing your thesis statement. Your thesis statement is going to state your 3 supporting points. So you're kind of leading up to that. You're not going to go into those supporting points in your introduction. You just want to lead up to those supporting points. Your introduction is not going to have a lot of meat in it. It's not going to have facts. It's not going to have quotes. It's not going to have, a lot of support for your argument in it, because that's what the body of the essay is for. Pretty much you're just kind of pulling the reader in. You're saying, come here, come to me. I want to tell you about this. This is why it's interesting. This is what I want to tell you about. Don't use first or second person unless you're in a class that tells you that you can. But in third person, you're going to be enticing the reader to come in. You're going to say, bring something really interesting, tell them a little bit about the topic, and then lead them to that 3-part thesis statement that you've hopefully been working on. Your 3-part thesis statement, don't put the opposite of what you're saying in it. This may sound obvious, but it happens a lot. You know, if your thesis statement is about how online schools are beneficial, don't say, a lot of people don't like online schools, but online schools can be. No, don't do that. If you have to address the opposition, depending on what type of essay, do that later on. In your thesis statement, this is your argument, and you are the authority, and you are telling the reader why they are going to agree with you. So you really want to take a strong stance. And this is something I really would love to see students do far more often in writing and also in life. You know, if you're in a meeting and you're like, I kind of feel and think maybe that we should, nobody's going to listen to you. You want to present your argument as fact. You want to present your argument as something that the other person or all the other people should agree with. And this is part of your introduction. So even though it's a little off topic because I have a thesis video, I'm going to do one of those things like the YouTubers do. My kids see. I'll try to link to the thesis video here. I have a thesis video, but the thesis is such a big part of your introduction, and honestly such a big part of your entire essay, that it really bears kind of mentioning that you want to keep it concise. You want to state your argument or your assertion. You never really want a thesis statement to just be a statement of fact, a blanket statement of fact that everybody would agree with. It should be something debatable, always. So you want to state that argument, and then you want to highlight your 3 supporting points. Keep it simple. Keep it short. You want clarity over creativity. Don't expand on the points in your thesis statement. You state your argument, you state the 3 points in the clearest, most concise way you can. That is always the last sentence of your introduction, unless otherwise asked for. I need a little water. Oh, sorry about that. So you really want to keep it concise and clear. Your thesis statement should not be very wordy. And this is also one of the problems that I kind of encounter a lot with students. So remember, you want that strong hook. Well, first you want that strong title. You don't want to say essay 2 or anything like that. Your title is part of your essay. It should never be essay 2 or essay about this or online schools are good. Just, you know, create something interesting, something that makes the reader want to read. And then you have this strong hook. You're not going to use quotes. You're not going to use definitions. You're really going to use your own words to pull the reader in and make them want to keep reading. Something interesting, something engaging, something exciting. You know, you can write a strong academic, scholarly, third-person essay and still have a lot of personality in it. So just do something kind of, you know, something that would make you want to keep reading. If you came across this and you read that first line, you'd want to go, yeah, I want to read the second line. Oh, now I definitely want to keep reading this whole essay. So then remember, not a lot of meat in the rest of it. You want at least 5 sentences every class, every essay, every academic paragraph. If it's not a creative writing assignment, 5 sentences or more. Sometimes you'll see, someone say you could use 4 or something like this, but 5 is always safe. 5 sentences, 100 words minimum. It's the safest bet for you to get the best grade that you can. And that's what I want you guys to do in all of your classes, is get the best grades that you can. So even if someone tells you you can have fewer than that, I really would advise against it, because a lot of teachers are going to be looking for at least 5 sentences. And the last sentence should be your 3-part thesis statement. Never put it in the middle. If your teacher or if the instructions in the class tell you to put it as the first sentence, then obviously that always overrides what I'm telling you. If it's for a different class, not my class. But other than that, if there are no specific instructions about where your thesis statement should be, it should be the last sentence of your introduction. This is where your teacher's looking for it. This is where we're expecting it to be. When we grade, we kind of go over the essay first and go, okay, does it have it? Yeah, there's the 3-part thesis statement where it's supposed to be. There are the topic sentences. Certain things like that we look for. Is it, first line indented? Just, you kind of scan over an essay and look for specific things. And if they're not there, then you go into the essay, expecting that the student didn't do what they were asked to do. So you really want to make sure that you follow these, kind of standard rules. So as always, if you have any questions, you can comment below, or you can, if I'm your teacher, you can message me in the classroom. Thanks. Bye.